Yo, yo, yo. What are you doing, you rascal? Dealing with this little rascal. Meowing at my door all morning long. She wants to come in at 6. I had to call an audible, change my alarm to 7:30. Ugh. All right. 4-hour long call with Z. Jesus Christ. But it felt totally natural to do that. I mean, I don't know if that was too much time. Didn't seem like it for either of us. But yeah, I mean, shit. So if I'm offering, 10 hours of calls for around $1,000, which is basically what I'm offering, that was my beta program offer. I'm gonna do my best to give you $1,000 of value. I actually value my time way more than 100 an hour, but since it's a brand new industry, and I've made that many, many times on my very best hours, a lot more than that. So it's okay. Coaching is a different kind of an energy. So 10 hours is honestly fair. Um, you got to be confident. You got to believe that you're worth more. I did not become worth more in business until I started, figuring out industries and markets and selling products. And, it was either how much did I sell today, or it was what's the market charging and can I do a much better job than the average person? That's really what drove up my hourly and daily earnings potential. Can I sell things that are a little bit harder to find, legally? And then can I do a much better job in a different industry that pays more, for whatever reason, the industry just pays more. And so, yes, and yes. Now, coaching, I mean, you're going to have a variety of prices. If it's a coach in, say, Pakistan versus everyone's going to set a different price relative to kind of like the economy of the country they're in, you know. But in America, Europe, these are usually tier one nations. Tier one, just relative economic purchasing power. There's just data on it, every country. But, in a tier one country, to ask for $100 an hour, if you could get 40 of those hours and you work, consistently like everybody else, that's multiple six figures right there. It's 200K, right? To get 200 an hour, 400K a year, and maybe some of you guys have made even more than that. So it's about a deliverable product to the market. I always push with red energy. I am always pushing with red, and I believe red is what pays me. It's my power color. But I think every one of you, we could have a fun little brainstorming on what your power color is. Not everybody's power color is red, and it doesn't have to be. You know, some are so good at pulling them in, like a pink energy or like a dark green energy. Some people, their energy just pulls them in, and you see these people, have the IG funnels and YouTube funnels. You know, yes, there's energy and work to like make the content, try to have good scenes and make it look reasonable, flowing, interesting. Storytelling is not a red energy at all, right? But it's those fascinating storytellers that grip us and pull us in with their energy. So red is not the only color that sells. That's just my power color, that's just what I rely on, and I drive it like a fucking lunatic. But you have to know when to change your energy. This person may need more love. This person is just bored. This person wants me to flirt with them. This person just doesn't believe in themselves. This person struggles with confidence, or this person is just really kind of depressed, or just, has a lot of pain that they're ready to heal. There's nothing wrong with having pain. It's the fact that you're ready and willing to heal. That's what makes the world of a difference, because many people don't even allow themselves to heal. They just medicate and block it out, and then, just catatonically in that hamster wheel, just never going anywhere, right? So it's the willingness, right, guys, to grow, to change, to evolve, and to adapt. There's an interesting thing called a Mayan astrology, and it's kind of fun because the concept is when you work together with somebody, your two codes are gonna create a third code, and it simply is addition. So we found that Z is a magnetic what do you call it? World Bridger, and I am a magnetic white mirror. There's five white codes, five red codes, five yellow codes, and five blue codes. So when our energy comes together, it creates lunar, which is the second, because we're both number one out of 13. There's 13 numbers in a cycle. So one and one makes two. So we become two, and then mirror and World Bridger together creates yellow seed. Yellow seed isn't, and I had a World Bridger friend. So any World Bridger that I ever work with will generate seed energy. The number will just change because I had a friend, she was a number 9 solar World Bridger. And yeah, similar thing. So anytime I connect, it's kind of fun. You can see like what your husband or wife or your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, you can see what their code is, and then you can see what the, and it actually seems pretty valid to me. I speculated this for a very long time. I've been tracking the Mayan time codes for over a year now, and it's called a dream spell, and it honestly does kind of resonate with me. But it was fun. So if me and Z put our energy together, we become, like the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance. You fuse your energy together into a third energy. Fusion. Ha! That's how you make Gotenks, Trunks and Gohan or Goten, you know, or what is it? Vegito, Gogeta, Vegito. Anyways, so we fuse our energy together. It is changing. I am feeling a seed energy today. I mean, damn, we spent a lot of time talking. Um, you know, some heavy things in my life came up, and I felt like he was actually helping me process some of my energy, as much as maybe I was just talking about like selling and like, selling blocks of time, and then just kind of like where we have been at. We've both have like businesses where we can generate a high hourly, whether that's $80 an hour, even 100 plus an hour, and that's just doing a professional service that our heart and our soul is not even engaged in fully. To give someone an hour of our absolute very, very best energy, I mean, yeah, it should be worth 150 plus, you know. Um, it's hard to believe that sometimes, to value myself highly, but you know, the market's gonna kind of tell you what you should charge, like the market kind of whispers to you, if you really want to do this and generate an online income, you know, it's okay to give a discount or just give a comfortable, number based on, we don't have to be embarrassed about anything. I mean, I've worked for minimum wage. I have a genius IQ, and I went to a top 5 business college, and I'm fucking mopping floors at Jimmy John's, and I worked at a Pizza Hut. My parents are like, "You're such a fucking, failure." And I'm like, I'm figuring out my life the way I want to, okay? I'm gonna do this the way I want to. And I didn't mind working in those pizza shops, It didn't pay hardly shit, but I don't know. There was something just like easygoing about it. It was an easy and comfortable pace. Eventually, my motivation kicked in, and I've always had an intense drive, but I knew I was really suffering inside, and it was just enough to pay my bills. I had a one bedroom apartment, and it was an older kind of building, but my needs were met, even just delivering pizza, and I drive orange Mustang with a stick shift with a Roush exhaust kit. So, it's one of those Mustang Bros, but still at my parents' house in their driveway. I could probably sell it for like maybe a couple of $1,000, but I don't know. Just leave it there for the time being. The title is in North Dakota. I have North Dakota license plates. I don't know why I did this. I decided to register it. My registration expired, so I renewed it while I was working in North Dakota for a summer. Like the most random looking thing. North Dakota license plates look pretty cool. They're bright blue. But I drove from San Antonio to North Dakota. It's a fucking 20-hour drive, straight. Um, yeah, I went through Kansas, went through I don't quite remember all the states, but Nebraska, I think. Like, so much corn. That was actually kind of fun driving through the cornfields. I enjoyed the kind of change of dynamic scenery. Um, Life is an adventure, guys. Like, we have to keep reminding ourselves of how exciting and fun this all could be, and how liberating and rewarding that would feel. Someone valued me at $1,000 or even more than that at a time. That's such a huge validation. I've actually sold at 2,500, so 1,000 to me is really not hard for me to believe because I've already exceeded that. But for school and for where we're at right now, I find that it's appropriate. You start the more of those sales you generate, obviously, then now you start having bragging rights and testimonials. So you really just need to get that first bigger sale. That's going to start launching the momentum. So, you know, since me and Z are both number ones, Magnetic likes to launch. It's the first number. We both really like to drive and launch a thing, and like we're building. Like we kind of role played. I was his $1,000 client, and he was Z, or he was the $1,000 client, and then I was Z. Kind of like switched the roles. But um, you know, what did we name him? We named him Tony. What did Tony want? Tony has money. He probably works in tech. He probably makes like 160, 200, maybe 250 a year, but he's burnt out. He used to jam with the boys in the garage, and he has a music room, in a second bedroom, but he hasn't touched it in months. And he discovers Z on the discovery page because he's going to be pretty much top three, pages, imminently. I really do believe he's going to get that gold star. So we see Z's page and, join it, I don't know, just feeling energy there. And then we're kind of just like browsing around, and so I just went to his group and looked at the top posts. What is the energy of his group saying to me? And it's like, new member, group hangout, and then he's having people posting now in the group, organically. He knew about 50 people that joined him, which is pretty great. That means he's got a big list, a warm market. He's got a Facebook group of I don't know how many people, but so it's like he's already been like warm and like in the mix. So he brought in 50, and then 50 new people joined. So, new people. So it's like we could sell with what we have been doing, and then we could also sell to like a brand new kind of a person. So it's kind of a hybrid, like he comes from a music production and mastering kind of background, played the drums. So, that's tried and true. He's been professionally doing this for 10 years. He could do it at a higher ticket price, but we could also craft a new thing. And I think the new thing would be like, it's kind of like a done for you. When you sell high ticket or, at 1,000 plus, I wouldn't even really say 1,000 is high ticket. I think high ticket starts around 2,000, 2,500, but it's definitely middle ticket, and nothing to scoff at. I'd be totally grateful for $1,000, but I could make $1,000 in a day if I was fully booked all day long. I work my ass off and I'm exhausted, but I still, I'm trying to be worth more than that. But imagine selling $1,000 and being able to fulfill that in a single day, and then being able to do that every single day. I mean, that's the fucking goal. That's crown level money. How would you become diamond level money? I mean, probably you're just going to start becoming pretty famous on like social media. I mean, honestly, to really inflate your value, I mean, it's kind of like hype, right? Like Goose has got a lot of hype now. He's like popular and almost untouchable, almost inaccessible, but still a little bit accessible, So imagine if Goose hit diamond. That's gonna be like really fucking elite. You're gonna be like, damn, I feel a little bit nervous talking to you. You're that rich. And, maybe some of you guys have hit some of those months, that's a 100K month, or maybe even better than that. So, it's all perceived value. But anyways, I try to make a vlog first thing in the morning. I gotta go grind and, pay my rent. So time to put on the business, hat. I don't want to do it. There's a resistance, there's a resentment. I want to just grow on school. I want to just finish going through all these rockets, but I still got to pay my bills. We're hoping that we can convert, $2,000 to $3,000 sales will buy my time back. Every sale that I get just allows me to not have to do my other job, so we're trying to buy our own time back, right? And so how much do I need to like buy my time back and then truly have my freedom again? Then I can put 100% into this business. So many of us are in this situation, and that's totally fine. I think the universe wanted me to be in this situation so that I could show people how I did this completely organically and honestly, maybe even just native on school. I think I can probably do this with a native school funnel. So, and then I'll take the extra money and I'll hire, a TikTok pro, probably who's also on school, and then a YouTube pro who's also on school. They can help me kind of package my YouTube and TikTok funnels. Those will be my next two. You know, I want to be a YouTuber and have a travel vlog, but also talk about business. And then how much should I talk about business? How much should it be like vlogs of me traveling in Asia? I don't know. So we'd have to talk to an expert who can kind of help me break down like, we hire people who have skills that we don't have. I don't have that skill. I don't know. Like, how would you make someone famous on YouTube? How would you help them get 100,000 subs? I have no fucking clue. Um, how do you manufacture a viral TikTok? I don't know. But people who have done it and are doing it consistently probably start figuring out a formula to it, right? So I do have the formula of sales and making $1,000. I mean, yeah, I made that so many times. It's not that scary. It's not that big of a deal. Sometimes you're just gonna pop your cherry, get your first dollar. I am selling all of this information for $6 in that course, in that module, Momentum. I have to price it at $6 because it's taken me about 30 hours, you guys, to manually fucking scrub 9,000 fucking groups. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, man. Like, I have the focus to just power through it, but it's tedious. You don't have to pay me $6 to go through fucking 9,000 groups, but it's like, dude, I have this Chrome extension that allows me to just drag a box, and then once you release the box, it opens every single link in that contained box. And then I change my mouse setting to where when I scroll, it scrolls fast as fuck all the way to the bottom. So I can do this in like 2 seconds. You hold Z, you click the box, and then you scroll up, and then boom, goes all the way to the bottom. 2 seconds, boom, opens 30 tabs in a row. My MacBook Pro is a 2025. I mean, it's powerful. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a really good processor. So my computer can handle 90 tabs at the same time without too much lag, but it couldn't really handle 120. I tried to go 4 pages back. I didn't want the browser to crash, but it's not that much data on just the about. School is a very light, data. It's not heavy with like, videos and photos. So, but I can handle about 90 at a time. So it's 90 times 11 is 990, and then you have that 34th page has like 10 if you want to be OCD. So yeah, I did that in every fucking niche. You say niche or you say niche, but oh my god, you guys. So if you're curious, money has the most crowns of every niche. Go figure. Tech is the second. The hardest one to monetize is probably music, hobbies, relationships. It takes a really special group to pull in, 10, 20K a month. That's something that to me would be more like podcast oriented. You can monetize on a big following, but that to me seems like what the ones that are monetizing, it's like a podcast. It's like an interview feeling, building up a big audience, or doing relationship coaching, and many of them are making money. It's just not writing it through school. So don't allow the illusion of an emoji to they could have like, they could be making commissions on YouTube. They could be getting monetized on YouTube, and like that could be a considerable amount of income for them. You get 1 million subs. I think 1 million subs usually are getting around like 100K. I don't know, maybe 50 to 100K annually just from 1 million subs, just from the ads, the monetized videos. I don't exactly know, but you can monetize on X, you can monetize on TikTok, so even just from the traffic. So yeah, there's many things that we could do. It's like we want to build this school funnel and then get it to like a consistency to where then you may be able to divert some attention to another app. Like we should still try to have YouTube funnels, TikTok funnels, Instagram funnels, even maybe even a Facebook funnel. Some even get leads on or leads or clients on Pinterest and Reddit. Basically anywhere there's eyeballs, you can, the it's just a conversation. A relationship is just a conversation that evolves into a consistent conversation that becomes a friend. A friend is a consistent conversation. If you're not talking to your friends for a while, it kind of falls off, You still care about them, but it's no longer front of mind. It's no longer like alive. So, friendship is just active and continual conversation. That's it. I keep seeing the same person at the gym, so we started talking. I keep seeing the same person at this, keep talking to this cute waitress or, cashier, we started chatting, or keep seeing this same group, or they keep targeting me, you know. Yeah, Z was telling me about his IRL experience in Thailand. That was very interesting. He saw it was because Goose was doing school ads on Facebook, and that's how he saw it. He wasn't even in Goosify at the time, and it all just kind of synchronistically happened within 2 months. And that's been kind of happening for me too. He went from 8,000 to 100, and he's like 140 now in fucking 2 months. That's ridiculous because of a lot of warm traffic and already a pre-existing network. And then he's still pulling in new people. He's still dropping Facebook magnets to the school group. He's still targeting in certain ads, like, he'll post on school ads on Facebook his unique thing. Why not? You just hop on a post that already has a lot of eyeballs, So there's ways to do it, So I wouldn't worry so much about the fear of charging $1,000 or more. I would just say that's irrelevant because you can price it at whatever it's priced. You could give a discount if you wanted to. What's more important is people that are displaying interest in you as a friend, and then interest in you as a professional, right? Like I said in my last vlog, I recommend you watch it. I'm dropping some gems, guys. But yeah, it's a relationship funnel and then a business funnel, okay? So they like you as a person, they like you as a friend. Having talked to Z for 4 hours, my opinion of him has dramatically soared. And not that I didn't have a high opinion of him, it's just, you just don't know somebody yet until you meet them or do a call. And then I realized, like, oh man, this dude is like 6-dimensional, fucking, he's got his higher self is activated. I feel his spiritual energy. And I'm like, man, your energy feels really good to me, dude. Like, I start telling him things about my childhood that I don't tell very many people. And it was like his energy was kind of pulling it out of me. And like, he would just be a friend that would kind of listen to you, sharing some heavy things, and not to like burden them. But it's like, bro, I don't even know why I'm telling you this. That's like what I'm doing with my hand. It's like coming out of my heart, like being told I'm a failure, being told I'm worthless, just not even wanting to get up anymore, just fucking sad. So the value to just have a friend that you can even share some of this shit with, I mean, it's so valuable, dude. And then I'm almost embarrassed. Like, I don't want to burden you with heavy energy right now, but I don't know why I am telling you this, but your energy is like pulling it out of me. I don't know how else to describe that, so what can I do in return? He's healing some of my energy. So I can try to provide, maybe some tactical things that I've been able to implement, in business or, socially. So, when somebody gives you value, you want to give them value back, like, bro, your energy is really like, purifying my energies in a way. And, not saying that's the only thing that he can do, but it's like, that's what was really helping me out. That's what I took from the call. I was like, bro, your energy is like really healing. And, I'm not going to call him a healer and be like a new age person, but it's like, and then obviously he knows how he's a professional, like mixer, master producer, and I said, your energy to me, bro, like you're really just that friend that like people feel like they can confide in, and like your energy is just going to pull people into you because you have that, like a world bridger, is all about building connections and like new people, and needs a lot of variety probably. It's kind of like a Gemini energy in a way, like but it's like people come to them very frequently and very often, and they're helping people connect, and they enjoy it. They like the kind of swirling kind of moving around, and like it's stimulating and it's interesting. So anyways, had a great call, took on a little bit of his energy. It's just nice to have a friend to talk to sometimes, when I'm having a rough day. And then to monetize that, like, we don't have to worry so much about sales. It's a 3D thing to be trying to force a sale. Sometimes we sell in 3D, sometimes we sell in 6D, which is, just a silly new age thing to say. In the ego, kind of in the competitive business mind, or in the higher mind, which the sixth dimension, some say, is like the higher self. The ninth dimension is like the oversoul, like the big cluster of souls. In the ninth dimension is where we would become influencers, because we would be able to access a much greater spiritual kind of soul, you know. And then the 12th dimension, according to this one guy, would be almost like encompassing the entire world, humanity itself. 12th dimension is like God realization, or what the Indians call samadhi. God realization means you feel total oneness with this entire universe, transcending to the plane of like source creation itself. I can't claim to know what that feels like. Maybe very periodically, if I did a intense meditation, sometimes I feel like the energy goes up into like my crown, and like totally just like you feel it kind of vibrate through your entire head. I don't know if you ever, maybe just for a few seconds or minutes. I can't, and then you come back to reality, and I got, pay the fucking bills, and so we shift in and out. Sometimes we just have to go to 3D, sometimes we just have to produce energy. The supremacy of the third dimension is driving your personal energy and asking for what you believe you deserve. It is a self-interested energy, but we have to eat to survive. We have to, otherwise we'll die. The body must destroy energy to create energy. We don't know how to just pull in energy from the universe yet, if that's even possible. So I got to eat things. We have a digestion, we have stomach acid. Why? For a reason. We're created with this, so it must be a part of our, evolution as a human being. The body was given stomach acid to digest and teeth to, chew things. So, right? The sixth dimension is, I'm not so worried about money. I'm just going to continuously serve relentlessly until I've given so much value that the person just like, dude, you have done so much for me. Like, here's $1,000. Maybe I have to give them $9,000 of value for them to ever say, okay, I'll give you $1,000 back. I don't know. How would you give $9,000 of value to somebody? Like, I don't know. But in the highest dimension, and then maybe even in the ninth dimension, that's kind of where we go into possibly like soul contracts, and like, maybe the universe is just testing us and testing our patience. Maybe that's what we call divine timing, maybe the ninth, dimension. But do we trust in divine timing? Maybe the universe is saying, I need you to start pulling out, 60, 70 hour weeks. If you really want to fucking make this happen, I need you to actually increase your, commitment. Sometimes the ninth dimension tells us we need to be totally excellent in all the other lower dimensions first, and then we'll begin to access our oversoul. That's when I think that's what I would say, growing a huge group and then starting to get a following, like a big following. That would, to me, feel ninth dimensional, a big oversoul, a large soul family. Imagine that it's not like you are the oversoul and everybody else is not, or under you. It's like every single one of us shares the same oversoul. That's the weird way to look at it. But like every single one of us could access that ninth dimension. It would be the same oversoul for all of us. I don't know. That's weird, but it's kind of fun because it makes me think about an actual soul family. What if we were all actually in a soul cluster together? I would like to believe that. That would be fun. That doesn't mean any one of us is better or in a higher vibe than others. It means we all go up and down all the time. Sometimes I'm in a lower state. Sometimes I'm in a higher state. Sometimes people are helping me out of a lower state. We're all kind of like helping each other out of, the lower vibrations, through healing and through, motivation. All right, that's my video for today. I'm gonna have to take a step back from school for probably the rest of this month. I'll be on here, just not as crazy because, until I start pulling in those $1,000 deals, gotta grind. All right, much love, guys.